Alright, we can, like, talk over credits or something like that. Dialga is the Pokemon, yeah. Yeah, I have beaten it. Remember when God took control of his ship and Eternal, instead of crashing it, just spawned, like, 3 low-level minions? Final score out of 10. Out of 10. Let's see, what goes against it, right? The music is good. It's good, right? It's definitely a little kind of hard to compare because, you know, Mick Gordon went and made 2 of the all-time greatest game soundtracks, 2016 especially. There was a couple of places where the music really kind of got me in the mood, but a lot of times it goes kind of background noisy a little bit, and it just kind of music is kind of an interesting sticking point. But like you gotta understand, like the first 2 were so good, and with this one, there's a lot of kind of like memorable melodies to it and memorable rhythms and some really good stuff, but there is kind of like a little bit of a lack of above and beyond. I think that's kind of something to kind of poke at Eternal for, just kind of in general, is a slight lack of like above and beyond, because it's really kind of just the campaign, you know, like 2016 had a multiplayer on it, and Eternal had a multiplayer on it, and then there was like the snap map in 2016. This one's kind of just the campaign, and the big things are like how the combat flow works, and it's like the dragons and the Atlan. And the dragons and the Atlan parts I liked well enough. They were fun. Not hyper compelling, but I liked them. I want you to rate my performance. My performance? I don't know. Probably started at like a 5 and went up to, I don't know, maybe like an 8 at the very end there. Started out pretty bad. I was pretty bad at this game when we started. Let's see. Let's stick around for another Crab's Treasure. I don't know on that at the moment, unfortunately. Let's see. But I can keep talking about the game since we're talking about it. Yeah, so with some of the extra features, with some of the like the music or whatever, there's a little bit of like the missing kind of just like extra tidbits. Excuse me. Like this game is very much the campaign, and it's a good campaign. It's a lengthy enough campaign. Took me, I don't know, about like 20-something hours maybe to beat this one. Let's see. And yeah, no, the dragon and the dragon was kind of cool, because at least you're dodging and you're shooting and you're flying around and you're chasing gunships and zooming through traps and whatnot. The Atlan's just, until like that very last level where they'd throw like 3 guys at you, and one of them would be a big armored tank and the other 2 would be laser robot guys, and they'd be shooting at you. Up until that point, the Atlan stuff was, like, laughably easy. It was really autopilot-y until probably the very, very last level. It ends with that really cool boss, though. Like, the old one was, honestly, for what they're able to do with the Atlans, was pretty fun, with the combos that he's got, and the projectiles, and the warping, the delayed guy that he leaves behind. That last kind of gauntlet of boss fights, because really the boss fights in the game for a good long while are just demons that they're going to be putting into the game later. So like the Agadon Hunter and the Vagary Champion and the Komodo Champion, those are like your bosses for a little while. That kind of last gauntlet, because we did all probably like the main bosses tonight with Creed, the old one, and then Azrek, and then Azrek and the Witch. I think the boss fights were really good in this game. Very fun to learn the timings for. Nice and fast and hectic, good damage on them. Fair but challenging. I'd say, like, Creedmaker might have been the weakest of them, because he just kind of hides behind a shield and gets wicked bullet helly for a little bit. Wasn't bad. It kind of just, it's really trying to, like, play around with the strafe and shooting with this game a little bit. I will say, talking about, like, the strafe and shoot stuff, one thing I would say definitely about this game is definitely feel like I missed having a side dash. And I know they kind of wanted to differentiate it from Eternal. They don't want too much movement on it. But there's a couple of points in time in the game where it feels like, you know, you have your shield, right? And the shield has a limited integrity. And there's a whole bunch of projectiles that can come at you. Those projectiles have tracking priority, but you still also need the shield for parrying. So you're almost kind of discouraged to do a little bit of blocking, especially when you have like a lot of imps throwing a bunch of bullshit at you. So they have a bunch of stuff. They can break shield. They can track. I feel like they could have done maybe like one or two different things, because there's a couple of opportunities where it's like, man, I kind of just don't have the movement to get away from this, but I don't want to sacrifice my shield because there's like 4 things coming at me. I wish I could kind of sidestep here. And if you're not going to allow me to sidestep because you don't want to do eternal movements, then I would say I wish there was an upgrade in the shield pathing for increased integrity. I think it's a little weird that there's not an increased integrity. I know you can get it that it comes back a little bit faster, which is nice and becomes very important later on. But yeah, no, there was a couple of bits here and there. Not that I felt like the game was balanced around that you couldn't get out of certain situations, but yeah, there was a couple of bits where I really felt like, yeah, I wish I was, if you wanted me to be super tanky in this game, I wish you made me a little bit tankier. And if you're not going to make me super duper tanky, I wish I could move just like a little bit more. I bumped into that a couple of places. I think the enemies were generally really well made. Even the ones I found really annoying, they weren't annoying because they were bad. They were annoying because just like they were mechanically set up that way. The Caco Demon's kind of a pain in the neck though, with the just shooting the giant waffle fries at you and taking up a whole bunch of your screen and all that whatnot. And sometimes they just love to pair demons that they know are wicked annoying together. Especially like trying to dance around like a Komodo, and then they throw a Caco at you, so you're just getting boxed out by the laser grid the Caco's throwing at you. Or they'll throw in like the whiplash and the arachnotron, so the arachnotron is just shooting at you from the back, and the snake's all up in your face, and you're trying to get around the snake to kill the arachnotron. Generally, it's pretty good. Another thing I definitely didn't love about the game is how the weapon wheel works. The weapon wheel, I think, definitely should have been snappier. When you pull up the weapon wheel, you can't do the shield input while the weapon is up, which is weird because if you hold the shield throw button to do the slowdown time on that finger, you can still fire the gun off. So you can slow down time on the left and use the right, but you can't slow down time on the right and use the left. I think that's really, really weird. And was multiple opportunities where, like, I see this enemy is coming at me. I prefer to use this weapon on that enemy. So I got to pull up the radial wheel. It takes, like, it needs to kind of register that it's there for like half a second. I wonder if that's another thing off of Eternal. We're like, oh, we don't want the gun swapping to be too fast. The gun swapping is a little unresponsive for a good maybe like half a second, and in that half a second I can't do a shield input, and all the enemies are still moving around me, so I can't block and I can't parry. And there was a lot of opportunities where like, oh, the weapon I have is a bad weapon for this situation. I gotta swap it over. I gotta pull over to the weapon wheel, and putting on the weapon wheel can leave you really exposed, and I did not like how that worked at all. It wasn't like a death sentence, but you can really only rely on that weapon wheel at times where you have just that like half second of downtime that you can safely pull it up. And I wish it was a lot snappier. I wish, like, if the second I pressed R1 and I just did a thumb flick, like, that's the gun I was gonna pull out. But there was multiple times where it was press, thumb flick, drop it, and then the gun doesn't come into my hand. And I felt like it was not as responsive as it should have been. Let's see. The other weird thing, not necessarily bad, was definitely the like the morale fights where they had one dude who was just sitting in the back and he couldn't hit him forever, and you can't really interact with him, but he's just shooting at you from the back line, not really moving, while you got to fight a whole bunch of other stuff. I feel like that was just kind of to change up the game flow for the sake of changing up the game flow. I think the idea of having an enemy that you can't hit was less intimidating than they kind of thought it was. All it really does is just box out a part of the map for like a couple of minutes and was mildly frustrating. And it's weird because in a whole bunch of other fights, they just have the big armored boss just show up later. Like in map 2, there's no like morale meter. He just shows up at the end and fights you. So I don't know, just kind of box out one level of the map for that kind of boss was a little bit of an odd choice. I did like the flag demons that could boost the stats of some of the other ones around him and could summon others to him. I thought that was a pretty cool mechanic where you gotta find like the enemy commander and go after him and shut him down. I thought that was way better than the guys who hid behind shields. Were all the weapons useful? Almost all of them. The only one that stunk was the pulverizer. The pulverizer has very, very little utility in the game. It's pretty damn bad, and you can get... It's meant to be ad clearing. If you want to do ad clearing, there's a million other ways to do ad clearing. The Ravager is better, the Shield Toss is better, the Grenade Launcher is better, the Cycler is better. The Punisher was pretty much the only thing in the game that felt like it stunk. Other than that, I enjoyed every gun in the game. The Cycler with the shock was really cool, especially if you could, like, detonate the shock and send that reeling off to other demons. The Accelerator could do really good damage, and the Heat Blast on that was really cool. I didn't play with the Grenade Launcher too much. It was kind of finicky, but it was kind of fun. Melee Rocket Launcher was so fun. If you just get a parry off, like, any parry off, didn't even have to be a projectile. You get parry off, and then you're basically sword fighting with a rocket launcher. That's awesome. Chain Shot's one of the coolest guns in the game just because of the nature of it and the fact that it auto-charges off of a parry's wicked cool. Slept on the Ravager for a while, but you can get the Ravager to the point where you're just mowing down guys and it's just feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding, and that's awesome. And it's giving you just health and bullets and health and bullets. That's a gun I wish I was using more. Let's see. The Impaler is an extremely good boss killer, super fun gun, very, very satisfying with great sound design, and then especially because it's leaving like the pins in the guys, that's really cool. Let's see, I slept on the Shredder for a really long time until I got the pin cushion working, because I was using the Ricochet for the while, and the Ricochet sucked, but the pin cushion was good. Both of the shotties are really good, of course they are. Flaming semi-auto burst shotguns, wicked fun. Of course, the SSG is really cool. Let's see, was there any other? Cycler, Accelerator, Ravager, Punisher, Chain Shots, Is there like one? That's fine. The shield was great. I really liked the shield. I liked the core loop of this game quite a bit. I did not get bored of it in the several hours that I was playing. I never got bored of the strafe and parry loop. Again, I feel like with either a little bit of movement if you don't want to be tanky, or a little bit more tanky if you don't want movement. I wish they kind of didn't fence it on that a little bit. I think they could have gone better in that direction. But generally speaking, I never got tired of how the gameplay worked. I thought parrying was pretty fun. I mean, I'm a person who likes parrying in games like this, so I like that kind of stuff. So that's really fun for me. And then the runes weren't like anything super satisfying because they just kind of auto proc, but they're really cool. I like the knives, like the knife one was really cool. I don't know, I don't care if that's the best one, but just like a projectile goes off and you just shoot a rain of knives at people. That's awesome. That was definitely my favorite one, even if it wasn't the best one utility wise, because just like the shoulder cannon is just that, it's health back. That's really cool. But yeah, no, the shield just had a lot of really good utility. So it had, you could get out of a bad situation with the rush. You can ad clear with the toss. You can parry and block if you want to stay put. And that is the tool that basically gives you your movement back. So you're in a bad situation. You see like a little dreg guy over there, just go bang, you get yourself out of a corner, you go zipping over to there, and it can go through projectiles and whatnot, which is really nice. I did kind of dig the fact that you could have the shield bounce off of certain projectiles and you couldn't just start throwing that thing willy-nilly. It made you kind of think about what you're actually throwing things into. It made those invisible imps really annoying because you can't rush them and stun check them like that. Let's see. The other thing I see brought up a whole bunch is the lacking glory kills. And I think there could have been a little bit, this is another thing, there could have been a little bit of a happy medium here. Because, yeah, I think the glory kills are a little bit missing. There's really only kind of like 1 or 2 ways to get them. One of them being to jump at enemies, or to just jump up in the air when you're in range and hit them. Or the bosses will get some recycled auto kill stuff. And there's like 1 or 2 other ways to get them. I don't know. I kind of... It's on 2 fronts for me. Number one... Not doing shoot, glory kill, shoot, glory kill, shoot, glory. That's a minor exaggeration of what could happen in the other 2 games. Like, it's not always just like you glory kill every single demon on the map, but doing it a lot less does kind of keep just the rhythm and the flow going and whatnot. Like, you just still going, you're still parrying and running around. Like, you're going into these lengthy animations just like a little bit less, and you just kind of keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. But yeah, no, I think there's a happy medium somewhere where they could have done more with them. Because the ones where they just kind of stagger and you just do like a flying punch and they explode, nah, whatever, not great. If you want to do that sometime, maybe if there's just like a different button press or something, like if I want to do a glory kill or if I want to do the execution to get him out, like that's an option. The other thing, I think it's weird that the melee weapons didn't have glory kills on them either. I think that would probably have been a good idea. Yeah, I think if nothing else, I think that the melee weapons should have had the glory kills on them. If you didn't want to have it be run around, shoot, animation, run around, shoot, animation, run around, shoot, animation. If you're getting like up in the clack and then you're either with the fist or the flail or the mace or whatever, and then you can get the execute. I feel like that would have, if you wanted to kind of move them around a little bit and have them be a little less prevalent, I think that is where you should have put them. I think that's where you should have put them. I feel like I get it. I get not wanting to break up the flow, but I think they overcorrected a little bit in that department. Let's see. Exploration and treasure collecting. Honestly, I enjoyed it pretty consistently. I thought it was fun to run around and collect a whole bunch of stuff, and it can break up the flow, but that's only if you want it to break up the flow. There's only ever really a couple of parts where they're making you do a platforming section. Very, very infrequently is any of that, like, mandatory. A lot of the time, you're just kind of running and gunning and shooting around and trekking around and whatnot. But if you want to go treasure hunting, the treasure hunting's kind of fun. It's nothing super crazy, but it's just invigorating. You're like, oh, a little puzzle, and then you figure out the little puzzle, and then you get a thing. It's just little dopamine hit with every one of them. I liked it fine. They were fun. The best example was definitely, I think it was like 4 or 5 levels back on the Cthulhu level, where they had like the water temples and they had the fake out puzzles. That's when I think they really kind of hit their stride with the discovery stuff, because they played around with it. They had fun with it, you know? They did just kind of the best one for sure was the one where it was like the Wraithstone in the boat. So then you go into the boat, and you turn the corner where the Wraithstone is supposed to be, and then it's just gone. You're like, uh-oh. So you turn back around, and then the exit to the boat is gone. You're like, oh no. Then you turn back around again, and you're in a completely different hallway. There's a life sigil at the end. You're like, okay. You see melee ammo everywhere. So you go down, and then they throw like 100 Hell Knights at you. That was wicked fun. There was another one that was like the liminal space tunnel, where you just kind of walk around it forever, and the way out is just to turn around. That one was cool. I liked a lot of those. And then like some of like the water temple flip around stuff, some Legend of Zelda type of puzzles in there. The Cthulhu Temple level, I think, might be one of my favorite in the game, just because that was the one where it's like it really felt like the developers were having fun with that one, and I was having fun with them. And then, you know, it's the same collectibles that they normally do. Eternal definitely had more, especially in the Slayer skins department. I think I've only ever seen like 1 or 2 skins on them. But, you know, you have the little documents, you have the gun skins, you have the collectible little figurines and whatnot. I love the little collectible figurines. And then you have the gold that you can go find for buying the upgrades and whatnot. Cool enough, you know. It's good. It's the same stuff that they've been doing. I appreciated the missions where they were the big open fields. I thought those were kind of fun. For me, those ones, it was just kind of like a good spread. Instead of just going down like the hallways the entire time, it's like I can go wherever I want, and then there's a big encounter and a little encounter and then a baby encounter and then a secret encounter. Like you're just kind of going around the entire map and you're finding like the gore nests that you can pop, and then there's like the 2 big battles on the field, and then there's a couple like just little tiny squabbles on the field, and then there's a medium. Like it's just like a nice variety, and then I can pick and choose wherever I want to go, kind of. You know, if I'm getting boxed out of one fight, I can just kind of break off for a little bit and go to another one and come back later. You get a little bit of like gold or upgrade stones and get like a little bit more powerful and come back. That's something. I like those levels. I like that it was a blend. It was a blend between the open concept ones and the linear ones, because that kept it kind of fresh for me. Yeah, there's some good variety, even though the Atlan missions are kind of simple and the dragon stuff is pretty simple. Having like the linear stuff and then the open stuff and then the Atlan stuff and the dragon stuff, is like I was doing different things, and it was just keeping me like, it was keeping my attention. You know, it was it felt like they were kind of playing around and being experimental. I really like the first dragon mission where you're flying around on the battleships, then you're boarding the battleships and blowing them up from the interior. That was really cool. I'd say like the back 5 levels are all really good. So the Cthulhu level is awesome. Then like the Temple of the Undead is really cool with some good throwbacks to 2016 in there. And then the back 3 was pretty awesome. Like the battle on the Creed ship was really cool when you go slamming into there and you fly up there to go kill him. That was sick. And then, you know, like the final battle with the old one in Azrek, that's a really good duel set. And then just that final purge that's not even like that hard, going after Azrek and the Writ, which that was really fun. Yeah, no, those back 5 levels I thought were really, really good. I don't know if there was any like bad ones in the bunch. There was a couple that were like mildly annoying, maybe here or there. I can think of like a couple of bits, though some of that might just come down to the fact that I wasn't playing particularly well, especially in like those first 2 streams, 2 or 3. And that's another thing, it felt satisfying to get good at the game, because, you know, you remember when we were just starting out fighting like the cyber demons, I sucked at fighting the cyber. I'm like, I'm totally doing something wrong. And then towards the very end of that, towards the very end of that, I was crushing those things. Part of that's definitely the Dread Mace. I'm gonna turn this down so I can kind of keep talking, because that's loud. Let's see, is there anything else to talk about with this game? Belly of the Beast was okay. Yeah. All right, so this like back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, these back 6. So the Cthulhu Temple, the inside of the old one, Lost Souls Temple, and this one, Final Battle and Reckoning, really, really good. Pretty good spread of environments. You know, you have like the sci-fi fantasy stuff. You got Hell levels. You got the Cthulhu levels. Let's see. Yeah, like all I really got's like one. Eternal's got a ton of skins on it. Though I didn't get like do like a I'm assuming there's definitely like a premium skin or fucking whatever that I didn't get it. I'm sure if I got like the fucking premium order, maybe those. Nightmare difficulty was painful. I think it's partially because I was playing bad. I think if I reset it back to Nightmare, I probably would have been fine. Maybe died like slightly more, but eventually all they can really do is just throw more demons and more boss demons at you. Because the demon damage doesn't really go up, and then you can just kind of afford to make a few more mistakes a little later on, which is nice. I feel like in probably like missions, probably around like this page, so like Eratum and then the sieges and whatnot, I feel like right around here, it's pretty damn punishing on Nightmare, just because you don't have a lot of upgrades and you don't have a lot of health and shield upgrades. But once you're starting to hit like this area over here, you're just being... You have a lot of gun upgrades at this point. You also have a lot of health, ammo, and shield upgrades at this point. You can just afford to make mistakes, because the demons don't hit any harder the further you go in. There's just more of them, and they spawn the bosses a little bit more often. Let's see. Yeah, I had fun front to back. Wasn't good at it at the start, but I had fun front to back. For sure. If I were to put a number on it, I like to do out of 100 rather than out of 10, just because like I like to do percentiles, and I feel like an 8 can mean a lot of different things, because that's a range of 80 to 89. Doom the Dark Ages on first impression. I really like the loop. It doesn't go super extracurricular in some places that the other games did. Fun settings, a lot of fun levels. Some levels that I just kind of forgot about. But especially towards the back, I feel like the developers really pulled out their end game. A game loop that didn't really wear out. Some issues with the weapon wheel, I think. Some things where I feel like they sat on tanky or evasion a little bit. Generally very good boss fights, especially towards the end. Really good enemy variety, some very solid level design, some level design that was just kind of fine, inoffensive. Sometimes the narrative felt a little skippy, like they were kind of expecting that I was going to be reading codexes, because sometimes things just kind of happened. Let's see. Out of 100... hard to nail down an objective score, I think. Because I really kind of have to sit with the game to think about that. Subjectively, with like a little bit of objective thought and analysis put in there, mid-80s. Let's put it like an 83. I feel like my gut is saying 83. 83 out of 100. One thing that really kind of knocks it, I think this is a really good game, but the price tag is a little steep. You know, it's like 70, 80 bucks. And again, it's a really good game, and if you just played just the campaign once, you don't go back for any extras, nothing. Mine was definitely extended because I got high percentages on most of these levels on the initial run through. So, except that guy. I didn't do the good on that guy. Or that one. It's above a 50. I feel like, I don't know. It's a really good game that doesn't really go too above and beyond in some places where its predecessors went above and beyond. It doesn't get boring. It's very well designed. It's pretty damn fun. And there is replayability if you do want to get through everything, or if you do just want to get better at the game, or you just want to play the game for fun. You know, heaven forbid you just play the game for fun, you know. But it's a steep price tag for... If this was back when AAA games costed $60, I would say, yeah, this is definitely worth 60. Is it worth 80? It's not worth. I don't know. I think the price tag is a little steep. You know, if you haven't bought this, and you wanted my recommendation, I would say wait for a sale. Not like the steepest sale ever, you know, unless you get it for a steal, then you get it for a steal. Like if this ever is like down to like, I don't know, like $20, like that's a nab. But if this eventually goes down to 60, I think 60 is like a really good price tag for this game. As is, I think it's good. I don't regret buying it. Not at all. But it is it's a little expensive for the packaging, I think. For sure. Yeah, no, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I like 83 as a number.